Hello everyone and welcome back to Cinema Shakedown, the weekly podcast that functions as a grab bag for all things film. I'm your host, Kyle Craigbaum.
And I'm your other host, Dylan Michael Miller. You'll notice...
We're missing one.
He's gone, dude.
He died.
He died.
It was tragic. We went to the funeral.
Terminal cancer. He pulled a Chadwick Boseman, died an honorable death, didn't tell anyone. Yeah. And we don't have to worry about him or his wigger antics anymore.
But instead of having the legacy of being Black Panther, he has the legacy of this fucking podcast.
He's just got Cinema Shakedown as the only thing carrying his legacy. Mm-hmm. He needs a crow. He needs a crow to carry his soul.
Sure.
From the dead.
How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, dude. I'm flying high on fucking Redemption right now, dude.
On Redemption?
On Redemption. You'll remember I fucking bottomed out with Sharktooth last weekend.
Yeah, and maybe in Minecraft committed a federal crime.
Maybe?
Yeah.
I covered up the evidence.
Sure.
I have a passenger mirror now, which is awesome, which is great. So that was the first thing.
Sure.
The second thing, dude, this weekend?
Yeah.
You know, with Sharktooth, that was really hard for me to accept because I was really stooping low. You know?
Sure.
But I had to bring back my ambition. I had to start shooting for the stars again. So, perfect timing, Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
Babes in college coming back home for just the weekend.
Sure.
Linked up with my little shawty, my little college shawty.
Hey, boo thang.
It was great. It was awesome. Yeah. Unfortunately, dude. Okay, so we're hanging out, and I'm talking about the movies that I have seen this weekend. And one of them that I listed that we'll be talking about in this episode, she goes, "Why did you go see that?" And I said, "I have to." And she says, "Why?" Now, I'm not a three-dimensional thinker. There's not a whole lot going on up here. Yeah. So I didn't see the issue in saying, I have a movie podcast with my friends. Yeah. Immediately, I'm like, fuck. Like, we can't do this. Like, this was a bad idea. She goes, "Oh, what's the name of it?" And I said, "Nice try." She goes, "I'm going to find it. You know that, right?" I was like, "No, you're not." Yeah. She found it that day, same day. She found it. Yeah. So, you know who you are. I know you're watching this, and I don't approve. But Kyle. Yeah. Since we've been compromised, we have to see this in a positive light. Because we were once a maidenless podcast. This was made for our gay friends and boys.
Gay friends and boys?
That's who was watching, right? Is our gay friends and boys. Yeah. Which one's harsh? All of the Just kidding, we love you, Harsh. Friend of the show. But now, we got babes watching our show now, dude. So
you're saying I gotta be extra gay?
We gotta straighten this podcast up, dude. We gotta straighten this. We gotta bring a little Christianity into this. Fucking, I'm thinking we get a Bible. And look, this comes at a cost for me because that means I can't grab your meat, dude. You got good strong meat over there.
Yeah, you're still gonna grab my meat.
I'm gonna resist. That's what I'm saying. We gotta straighten our podcast.
You're gonna resist until you get one beer in you.
And then it's just hands. and then I start touching guys.
Is that why you want to talk about a Vincent Gallo movie in this to turn it more Republican and
yes, more Christian.
Oh man, we need anti-pornography.
we need to be supporting and putting out a God-fearing podcast that is palatable for women, dude. For the babes. For the babes. Other than that, buddy, I'm flying, dude. I'm having a good time.
Hell yeah.
Loving it.
We have a fucking shitload of movies to talk about. Before we get into the main topics, do you have anything that you watched solo? I know we were spending all week watching movies together, so.
I know. I think I was, me and... Oh, you know what? I didn't log it or anything, but I turned on Taken for when the babe came over.
Okay.
It was great.
Yeah?
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in... a decade?
I was watching it the whole time going, I would never let this happen to you, dude. No? Alright. It's going to be fun not having Jordan here so I can just bomb on air. Even if you think it's funny, this is going to be a quiet podcast is what I'm saying. Because he's the loudest person on planet Earth. Oh, you know what, dude?
Oh, I know what you're about to say.
You know what,
dude?
Yeah. I was in such a good mood from this weekend. Redemption. I redeemed myself. And then fucking Jordan's cracker ass had to put in the group chat. Fucking, what did he say, dude?
He's the least white out of the three of us.
He said something like, "It's safe to say I'm the least white." Bro.
It's just like we're all from the suburbs of Missouri.
Dude, I was.
Yeah, we're not.
I wasn't mad, but it was like, just because you, dude. Oh my God, just because you listen to hip hop, and probably posted a black square on your Instagram when all that was going down, doesn't mean that you're safe in black spaces, dude. Yeah. I'll resist the temptation, dude. I wasn't.
You're
mad.
very heated.
I was fired up at first, but I think it's funny more than anything. Yeah. I was just laughing at the text, being like that, the lack of self-awareness.
If someone asks us, the three of us, who's the least white, there's not an answer because we're all the whitest.
I've got the most black friends, dude. Sorry.
I'm not gonna have this argument on the fucking
versus Jordan having 0 black friends. How about that?
You know what? It's funny. He's not even gonna listen to this because he doesn't fucking listen to this podcast.
No, he doesn't listen to the podcast.
Yeah, real ones listen to the podcast.
We hate you, Jordan. Just kidding. Just kidding. Actually, no. Jordan isn't. He's not here because he's shooting a movie, dude.
He's a cowboy, baby.
He's a cowboy. He's shooting a western.
Yeah.
His first feature. So
yeah, he's in a feature.
Proud of you, baby boy.
From what I've heard, he gets to get shot and die with a blood squib.
Yeah, dude.
Which is fun as hell.
Yeah.
So good for him.
Yeah, proud of you, baby boy.
Absolutely.
We miss you.
You shoot that western. We'll plug it whenever it's
most definitely
out on something.
Most definitely. Anyways, welcome to the fucking show.
Yeah. So you watched a little bit of Taken.
A little bit of Taken.
I have 3 movies to rapid fire.
Ooh.
Solo. David Cronenberg, The Fly.
Yeah.
This was my first Cronenberg. I had seen it long time ago.
Yeah.
Middle school, probably.
Yeah.
This movie's fucking awesome, dude. This is one of the peaks of body horror. He just has it. Because he always, Cronenberg, from what I've heard, is true of his other movies in this, is he always centers the body horror on, like, the internal process of transforming.
Yeah, Crimes of the Future.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a Videodrome and stuff like that.
That's the one I gotta get to.
I need to get to it, man.
History of Violence is also really good. That's like kind of a one-off.
And he just, like, and I was kind of watching some more body horror to prep for The Substance, which I'm very excited for. And The Fly is just fucking...
It's a staple.
Some of the best practical effects ever. Jeff Goldblum's amazing.
Jeffy.
Yeah. I watched a movie called Shoot 'Em Up, which is an action movie from the mid-2000s with Clive Owen and Paul Giamatti, which is kind of like Deadpool-type humor before Deadpool. Not the meta stuff, but the more like slapstick, violent, hyper-violence.
Yeah.
This movie's really fun if you're into... Like, if you don't care about a narrative, if you don't require a narrative at all and just want to see ludicrous action sequences, it's fun.
Yeah, you were telling me this movie goes a little luda with it, dude.
It's really fun and stupid.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. It's, he in the first 5 minutes of the movie, he stabs someone through the mouth, out the back of his head, a carrot. Wow. And then says, "Eat your vegetables."
Incredible.
And then he dies.
That's what movies are made for.
I was like, I was like, wait, are we cooking?
Nice. Yeah.
Last movie I watched, it's one that had been on my watch list for a while, and I watched it because there was a Twitter thread of like, what are the best movies that like not a lot of people have seen, and it was this horror thriller called Triangle, from 2009-ish? 2009.
Nice.
And it's a strange one because the premise is fucking amazing. I can't say what the premise is without spoiling the movie.
Yeah, that's a green flag for a movie.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
It's one where literally the most basic premise is a girl goes with her friends on like a yacht trip and everything goes wrong. And it's kind of a slasher, but it does something very strange with it. The problem with this movie is it's held back from feeling, it's very low budget and very amateurish, and you can tell, but that premise hard carries it because it threw me for a loop a couple times. When I thought I knew where it was going, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
it kind of does something strange with it. Leans more sci-fi than I expected.
You always love when it takes when a movie goes like left turn.
Yeah.
When you like audibly say to yourself like, oh.
I think it's worth checking out just for the uniqueness of it.
Fuck
just
yeah.
going blind. That's all. We have a lot to talk about.
We did. We went on we spent a week just basically going on movie dates.
Yeah, movie dates.
Fuck, sorry. Straight heterosexual podcast, my bad.
Heterosexual, but there was only...
Keep it het over here.
Yeah, only a little gay sex. We were we were limited enough on the gay sex that it's not gay.
Yeah, no, it was by any means...
Testing the wares?
Yeah, testing the waters, dude. Just exploring, dude.
Let's talk about...
So
you introduced
No.
What?
So our theme of the episode is AI.
Yeah, but we have a couple to get to before that.
We decided to explore a little something else other than our bodies.
Mm-hmm. So I know, last episode we set it up as talking about AI films. Jordan's pick was the Terminator, which we did not get around to because he's not on the episode because he died.
He's dead.
And we just happened to see we just had time to watch a couple other movies, so we just added it.
Most definitely.
Including, this isn't your favorite movie. Is it your favorite movie? I forget. You've called a few things your favorite movies.
There are some days where...
It is.
I mean, nothing has ever worked on me the way this movie has. I'll say that.
It's at least top 5.
It's got to be. And if it's not that, it's Buffalo 66 as well in the top 5. Okay. 2003. Let me tell you a story. 2003.
Bring us back.
Vincent Gallo. At the time, sort of one-hit indie auteur with Buffalo 66 in 1998.
Yeah.
At the time, not very well received, but grew this crazy cult audience through DVDs and back when that was
absolutely.
a thing. The Brown Bunny premieres at Cannes Film Festival. And I don't mean to get conspiratorial, but
you're going to.
But, Angelica Houston is in Buffalo 66.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very happy to disparage that woman and pretty much everyone involved in that movie, in press and stuff like that. Yeah. Turns out Angelica Houston's best friend or husband, I don't know who, was the sort of director at Cannes, or like some sort of like elite working that festival. Mm. So when he decides to show his movie that he had been working 4 years on, with skeleton crew, there's no more than 3 or 4 people working on this movie. Post-production hell, issues with the distributors. Yeah. He premieres it at Cannes. And from the very first frame of the movie, which is written, directed, edited, and produced by Vincent Gallo, it is booze across the entire audience. Yeah. And Roger Ebert famously called it the worst movie to ever premiere at Cannes in the festival's history. Yeah. His boyfriend Gene Siskel, rest in peace, I guess, said that what was his quote? He said something along the lines of like, it's a steaming pile of excrement, and in the way that if you told me there was a steaming pile of excrement in the corner of the room, I would go take a look at it, but then I would very quickly leave. He said bad about the movie.
It's kind of funny.
There was a lot of... This movie was essentially a very easy thing to hate. That became its promotion, was that it was infamously horrible. Now, when I saw Buffalo 66... Yep. It changed the game for me. I thought it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. I think Vincent Gallo gives a fantastic performance. Yep. And, I could buy that on YouTube. I tried to find The Brown Bunny, and I couldn't. I had to, buy it off of Amazon for, $25, or from his website for $45. Oh,
my God, criminal.
And so I watched this movie.
Yeah.
I want to say this was in December of 2023. Mm-hmm. Around that time. and I've not stopped thinking about it since.
So you've seen it like 6 times?
I have. Now, I can get away with saying, like, I've seen it that many times because I'm essentially making my own version of it, which TBD, don't want to talk about that too much.
No, yeah.
But that it just spoke to me in a way that caused me to not shut the fuck up about it to you and Jordan for all that time.
Sure.
For the better part of this year.
Yeah.
And I finally got you to sit down and watch it with me. Yeah.
Note, the version that we're talking about is not the version that premiered at Cannes, because this is the re-edited version that lost disparaged rumors. I'm just going by what Wikipedia is telling me, which is 26 minutes.
Yes. It gets muddy because Vincent Gallo likes to say a bunch of shit that is probably not true in the name of defending himself.
But the original cut was roughly around 2 hours, and this cut is roughly around 90 minutes.
Yes.
So,
which the newer cut, and I'm going to go on a limb and say the finished cut of the film.
Yes.
Roger Ebert then walked back and gave, I think,
3 out of 4?
Yeah.
3
thumbs up.
Yeah.
Which higher than A Clockwork Orange.
Interesting.
Also, one of my favorites.
So, I mean, you showed me Buffalo 66 near the beginning of this year.
Sure did.
Thought it was really good.
Yes.
Thought it was cool.
Was it surprising to you? Were you surprised?
So I guess I didn't go into that one with many expectations because I didn't know much about it, and I hadn't done the research on Vincent Gallo. I wasn't familiar with him.
Right.
So it was like a surprise, like a pleasant surprise. Like, oh, I liked the movie, you know. Yeah. This one, I did research before. Yeah. I kind of figured out the behind the scenes of the movie and Vincent Gallo,
and of course the reception as well.
Of course, Vincent Gallo's a big prick.
Piece of shit. I love him to death, but massive piece of shit.
Massive piece of shit. But what do they say? Massive pieces of shit make some of the most profound and vulnerable art.
I mean, to be that level of insufferable, there's got to be something interesting going on in your head.
Yeah, you have to have some redeeming qualities, which is the filmmaking, because this is a very, very lonely piece of storytelling. Very vulnerable.
I'll give you guys a little plot synopsis and just
I mean,
Bud Clay is a Formula 2 motorcycle rider.
Yep.
Who, after losing a race, has to drive from New Hampshire to California to his next race, and all the while, being alone in his car, is haunted by the memories of his one true love, Daisy. And in that journey, he encounters 3 different women. Yep. And essentially just makes mistakes.
Mm-hmm. This is a road trip movie with the loosest destination ever. It's like, he's going to a race. It does not give a fuck about the destination. That's not what matters.
Not the point.
It's basically ruminating. It's you have to exist with the loneliest fucker you've ever seen in your life for 90 minutes. Yeah. There's probably 30 minutes of this movie that's just driving footage, if not more.
I would say
45 minutes.
50-ish.
Yeah. That's just shots of him driving. Sometimes his face is in it. Sometimes it's just the road.
You are really forced, almost at gunpoint, to just sit with this guy. Yeah. And
not a phone in sight.
Not a phone in sight. Very few facial expressions as well. It is really just a.
It is more than it's a mood piece.
100%.
It's an atmosphere piece. 100%. It's avant-garde, if you want to say. It's an art film. Do I understand why people rejected this? Absolutely, especially if it was a half hour longer, because I feel like that.
100%.
I feel like Vincent Gallo has had some words in the last couple of years of whether or not Roger Ebert was being genuine with his rating change, or he just wanted to put the beef that they had behind them. Yeah. I can't comment on that because I don't know the behind the scenes, but I do know that 30 minutes can greatly affect the pacing.
100%.
And so if this was the Titan version, I think I've been dancing around for. I like this movie. I really do like this movie. And I was telling you after we watched it, I think that in some ways it's aged better than Buffalo 66.
Yeah.
It feels more mature than Buffalo 66 in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the evolution of the guy who made Buffalo 66.
Yeah.
But even more in the realm of like this guy is more likable than the protagonist of Buffalo 66 for
I would
sure.
say so, yeah.
But
he's more quiet.
He's more quiet.
He's not really opening his mouth a whole lot.
But I mean, I'm trying to like even kind of break this down because it's a lot of how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
More so than like concrete.
I mean, it's 100% a mood piece. It is.
Yes.
And the way that it moves is unforgiving. There are shots that go on to some people, way too long.
Oh, yeah.
To someone like myself, it's, without giving away too much about, like, I don't know, myself, I don't fucking know. I know my job is literally to be alone in my car.
Yeah.
Driving to multiple destinations.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Mm-hmm. And there is nothing that I relate to more than when you're driving, music or not, especially if you have music on, because you're trying to entertain and distract yourself.
Yeah.
But there's that thing that pops up in your head, and you're just like, whether it's a cringe moment or this really sad thing that you're reflecting on in your life, you just can't help but go like, oh fuck, you know.
Yeah.
And this movie, I mean,
it's that feeling embodied. Yeah.
I've never seen loneliness, whether it's specific to being in your car for an extended period of time or just like loneliness in general. I've never seen anything like this. And it's never, I've talked about transcendentalism on this podcast before. It's essentially the rhythmic nature of a film, whether it be, the sound of his engine roaring as he's driving down the highway or just the lingering shots. Like it's all about the slow pace that you sort of float with the movie.
Yeah.
And then the end happens.
There are only 2 scenes in this movie that I would say are like narrative.
Yep.
There is the sequence with him talking to Daisy's parents early on in the movie, which might be my favorite scene in the movie.
Really?
I love his performance during that scene.
Yeah. It's so reserved.
It's so reserved and like clear that he's holding back so much.
Yeah.
And it kind of like lays the seeds of the thematic element of the movie really well. And then the last narrative sequence is the entire last 25-30 minutes of the movie.
This movie's also very famous for something else, right?
So, in the last 45 minutes of the movie, you see his lost love show up, played by Chloe Sevigny.
Mm-hmm.
Sevigny. And yeah, this movie is infamous for its unsimulated oral sex that happens for 3 minutes, 4 minutes in the climax of the movie.
Relatively short. And I wouldn't say it's the last 45 minutes. I'd say the last
I said 25.
I heard 45.
Sorry, 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's the last act.
Yeah.
It's the last act. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the sequence itself, I see why it's controversial just because we're prudes too, and like anything sex related is like.
You mean as a society?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Especially in 2003.
Unless like we're talking about like the French people with their movies.
Yeah.
So I'm saying,
those like pedophiles. What are they scoffing at?
But Americans are prudes, and so like to watch this, I understand why people are up in arms about it.
Yeah.
I'm of 2 minds. Nothing about it offends me. I don't think it was entirely necessary, but I also think that there is a thematic purpose for showing.
I mean, it's so you find out, when he's having these visions of Daisy, and he ends up in his hotel room in Los Angeles. He's made it to his destination.
He left a note at her house.
At their old house together.
Their old house.
And she shows up at his hotel room, and I got your note, and she goes to the bathroom to smoke crack, multiple times in a very short period, and they reminisce on kind of old memories, and the blowjob to me always was it's specific to the use of pornography in this film. It was used to sort of highlight themes of guilt and shame, which is something that in pornography you're doing the opposite of, right? Like, I mean, I'm not calling you out in particular, maybe even calling myself out. You know, I think it's safe to say we would not want to share our history of what porn we've watched to people, right?
No.
It's a very private, sensitive, but guilt-free thing. Whereas this movie is using when you remove that from pornography, it's actually very uncomfortable to watch.
It's uncomfortable because it feels like you're watching something you were not supposed to be watching.
Exactly. And I always like this notion that they, you know, because she finishes him off. Like, let's get that out of the way. She finishes him off. And
he has immediate post-nut clarity.
He has an emotional breakdown after.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true, but I read from him that they did multiple takes.
I believe it.
That's impressive. Anyway.
And then it leads into like the scene of the movie, the like emotional crux, which is the revelation that she's dead. This is just a fantasy. She's been dead for years. She got raped at a party. He saw it happening and left.
Yeah.
Let it happen, and then she died of an overdose. Yeah. Which is it's rough. It's rough. I think that they just avoid. I think that they just avoid exploitation of like the sexual assault itself.
I'm typically someone that is against showing sexual violence in movies.
It's obscured enough that I feel like it's tasteful enough.
Yeah, it's not irreversible.
You don't hear anything. It's all his acting. I do think that this is the pinnacle of Vincent Gallo as a performer. The sequence.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You're like the breakdown itself, and
his
monologue. I really.
Chloe Sevigny is so good.
She's fantastic in it, and she delivers. And you know, when you think of it in hindsight, she delivers a very cold, ghostly, expressionless, but also sort of sorrowful performance. That when you put it in the context of, oh no, this is just Vincent Gallo sort of wrestling with himself. That when you add that perspective to it, it checks out, and I think it's really impressive.
Sure.
Sometimes in the breakdown, the audio like peaks a little bit when he's like whimpering, so it's like I don't know, it like breaks through the screen, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, buddy, when I watched this for the first time, it just fucking broke me.
Yeah.
It just fucking broke me.
You were crying last night.
I cry every time I watch this movie.
Yeah.
I'm not like. It just worked. And
there's nothing wrong with it.
And maybe it won't for you, but I do think that ending and the movie as a whole put into context with that, it's going to stay with you. Yeah. I think it's going to stay with you.
Yeah.
It's just one of those endings that does stay with you.
Yeah.
It is definitely one.
I mean, I've been thinking about it all day today. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
It's
it's a really great
piece. If we're getting into my complaints with the movie, I mean, like, a lot of it is just personal preference based on terms of, you know...
Of course.
It's a slow-ass movie.
Yeah.
I didn't find it boring, you know?
Yeah.
The sequence in the middle of the movie with him making out with the porn star on the park bench.
Yeah, Cheryl Teagues.
Don't love that scene.
I get it.
It feels the least clear in terms of when you explain the thematics, and when I kind of think back on it, I can kind of see the thematics. It's the least clear, I think, in terms of what he's going for and the purpose of it.
The first time I watched this movie, I logged it as a 4.5.
Yeah.
That scene, I was like... You know, because there's also an air to this movie. There were some eyebrows raised after the blowjob scene where people were like, did you just make a movie just to get fucking blown?
For sure.
I think when you go into the movie with those sort of like notions in your head, that was the scene where I was like,
it's a strange scene.
The whole point of the scene is you're just making out with famous porn star Cheryl Teagues. Okay.
Yeah, right.
But as I've watched it more, I think there is something to dissect about that scene, but I completely understand on your first watch. It's kind of
there's absolutely things to be to dissect about it. It's just like, yeah, initial viewing, I'm like,
yeah, I get it.
I can lose it.
Yeah.
Besides that, I mean, it worked for me. I thought it was a really good, emotionally potent movie. Yeah.
I was so happy. I was so fucking happy.
It worked for me.
Because I don't know.
Will not work for everybody.
No.
Certainly not.
Because I texted in the group chat, like, yo, I won. Kyle likes the brown bunny.
Yeah.
And Jordan was like, yeah, I can't wait to get around to it. Jordan, I'm sorry, buddy. I will never show this movie to you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dude.
It's not for him, man. I mean, and maybe I'm maybe I'm assuming, but...
I agree with... This movie's not for most people. But I don't know. If you have an hour and a half and you're, I don't know, fucking lonely or, you know, there's some sort of itch in your brain.
Yeah.
Maybe it works for you, dude.
Yeah. I mean, for me, this is a 4 out of 5.
It's a 5 for me.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah.
If anything, one of the most impactful for
yeah.
me.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, man.
I'm glad we got it on Cinema Shakedown. The Brown Bunny.
Brown Bunny.
Yeah,
I've now seen all 2 of Vincent Gallo's directed
you have seen
films.
his entire filmography. We'll never get promises written in water.
No.
Yeah, we can end the Brown Bunny there. We got more interesting things to talk about.
We have a ton to talk about. Now let's go into the one new release we saw that does not correlate to our AI, which is the new thriller. Thriller.
Yeah.
Strange Darling. Which is I'm pulling it up. It is the new film by director J.T. Molnar. It stars Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner. Gallner.
It's so funny because that's what people think his last name is like pronounced.
And to keep it as brief and spoiler free as possible.
Yeah.
This girl has a one night stand in a motel with a guy. Mm-hmm. Night spirals out, crashes out.
Gotta put it simply.
And leads into a cat and mouse type thriller situation.
Fucking coked out cat and mouse.
Which is presented in out of chronological order. This movie is very clearly inspired by the works of Tarantino in a lot of different ways. The hyperviolence, the use of out of chronological order, even the way it's shot on film.
Which it flexes in the very beginning.
Everything you see was shot in 35 millimeter. And this is a movie I have very complex feelings about. I don't know if we want to get into a spoiler discussion. I mean, I assume. Yeah.
I think we should cut the spoiler free.
Yeah. Just say your basic thoughts.
I think this is one of the most interesting takes on gender power dynamics.
Yeah.
I think its use of nonlinear storytelling is fucking if anything, it glues you to what's going to happen next. Even if there are moments in this movie that you're fed up with, the storytelling is, dare I say, brilliant for my own take. I think Kyle Gallner and Willa Fitzgerald deliver, I'm a huge Kyle Gallner fan. I love, he does pretty much any script he's handed and he is the best part of every single one of those movies.
Dude, I was so shocked because I hadn't seen him for years, and when he's popped up a couple years ago in Smile, I was like,
yeah, dude.
Kyle Gallner.
Fucking Beaver from God damn it, dude! I was raised on the show. Why can't I think of it? Veronica Mars. He
has a brief role in in Scream.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
he gets killed in one of the opening. Yeah,
he does just about anything, and I can't believe I didn't follow him on social media until this point. But he is so proud of this movie, and I completely.
I get why.
I love this movie.
My spoiler-free thoughts are: I like the movie, not as much as you, certainly. Mm-hmm. I find faults in it that I can't really get into now. I do think it's gorgeously shot.
Oh,
it looks beautiful. I think there's some crispy sound design. I think Willa Fitzgerald gives a top 5 performance of the year in any genre. I think she's exceptional.
She's unbelievable in this movie.
As it goes on, the layers to her performance are insane. She's fucking incredible.
God damn it, I fucking love this movie so much.
My problems arise... First of all, I want to get into something. I don't like when a movie's marketed as go in blind or you will never see this twist coming, because I think it gives you preconceived notions that you shouldn't have going into a movie.
Which are?
That there's going to be a twist and that you got to go in blind to... Because the specifics of this, I'm going to get into in spoilers.
Yeah.
But I think that this paints the movie into a corner in terms of making it more predictable than I wanted it to be.
Do you think it inclines you to add an effort to try and figure out what it's going to be? Or is it something with the movie?
I think that as a movie, if you kind of put the story into chronological order, it's a pretty simple story.
Yeah.
That's given a layer of complexity with the way that it's told.
Yeah.
And that marketing the movie as the way that it has been only allows a couple of possibilities to enter your head of where it goes.
Yeah.
And I do think that this...
I think it's well said.
I do think that this movie kind of subverts it in how disturbing and mean it gets, because this is a rancid film.
Yeah.
Like, it's just twisted and mean.
Yeah.
And I think that it nails all that stuff. It made me feel like shit, which is great. It's also very funny, by the way.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Very funny.
A scene in particular, me and you were just dying in the fucking theater.
Oh, God. Yes. And we're going to go into spoilers in a second here. I like the movie. I want to get into more specifics. 3.5 for me. I know it's not as high as you. It's not as high as a lot of people. A lot of people are loving this, so go see it.
It's also not as low as some people are giving it as well, though.
Divisive movie.
Divisive movie.
Divisive movie. So, what are you giving it?
5. It's my movie of the year.
Yep.
It's my favorite movie of the year. I fucking love this movie.
So, she is the serial killer.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
So the marketing of this movie is, it shows this guy stalking her like a serial killer, and then markets it as go in blind. There's a big twist coming, and so my natural, I can't say blanket everyone. Maybe it's her. It is her. I think the marketing does it. It makes you look for something to be there.
That's what I was kind of asking earlier.
It does. It does. Yeah. It puts thoughts in your head like, oh, maybe it's her.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I wish I had gone and not even considering a twist.
I completely understand that.
And I get it. And I think that this movie, it shows its hand, I don't want to say fairly quickly. It's just that once I figured, it's told in 6 chapters and an epilogue. A couple chapters in, I had pretty much figured it out. And it did throw me for a loop with how demented it gets, but I was wishing that there were a few more layers to dig for there. That I just wasn't getting the satisfaction of. I was entertained by it.
Yeah.
I was always interested in what was going on. I was just like hoping for a little more personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for you, it's I wish this onion had more layers to it.
I don't think there's much under the surface. There is thematic elements here at play.
Yeah.
That you can unravel
the twist, there's
beyond
not
the
much.
twist, I don't know how this will play on a rewatch once you know the structure, you know the yes.
That is the one thing that I'm worried about.
Yes.
Because I could completely see that. This movie is made for the first watch. It is
Correct.
made.
It's a movie. The comparison point is Barbarian for me.
Mine's Pulp Fiction.
Well, that too.
I'm just saying, you're able to rewatch Pulp Fiction and go and still love the moments where it gets you and the moments.
I think that's a richer movie for sure. Pulp Fiction. The characters are richer. It's more.
Most
there's
definitely.
more going
This
on.
movie is more concerned, definitely, with sort of its conceptual and not even just concept, just like the twist. That is the big.
My comparison point is Barbarian because it relies a lot on the element of surprise.
Definitely.
And I don't know how it works. I actually liked Barbarian when I watched it again, but again, that first viewing is key.
It's essential.
For it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it's made for.
Correct.
I think so. As opposed to, I wish this onion had more layers.
Yeah.
I was so impressed by each layer that got pulled back.
Yeah.
Was just like so like to hold the onion comparison was so fucking flavorful. This movie fucking worked on me, and I whispered to you at one point because they establish in this one night stand that the woman is really into this like dominant
so
subplay.
It plays a lot more on kinks than
Yes.
I expected, and that's where kind of the surprising element comes in.
So it'll go from one chapter where it shows Kyle Gallner like strangling her, and then it'll be like he'll kind of give up and be like, fuck, I'm sorry, are you okay? And then it's like, oh, okay, so she's into being choked and sort of
yes.
And then it'll cut to when Kyle Gallner is chasing her across Oregon, trying to shoot her. In my mind, I'm like, oh, this is like sort of a weird, fucked up Bonnie and Clyde where they're like in on it together, but it's like this, like it's all for the kink.
That's what I did think that for a moment.
Right,
sure.
I whispered to you in the theater. I was like, "This is just some weird, fucked up sex game."
Yeah, when she kills the old couple, I was like,
and I thought it was gonna be like, "Oh no, they find enjoyment in like killing other people as well."
Yeah.
And then the twist happens where it's like,
she gives him ketamine. And,
she's like, we should do a little snorty snort.
Yeah.
And she gave him ketamine to sort of disable him entirely, and then have her way with him.
Yes, he did.
Then he pulls out a gun.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like shoots at her, so she's running away, and that's where the cat and mouse stuff goes.
Yeah.
She's going through his wallet before that in the bathroom, and you find out he's a fucking cop.
Yeah.
And there's each layer that it pulled back, I was just like,
I do think,
fuck, dude.
I do think that this is a really good use of non-chronological storytelling.
Yeah.
Because of the way it plays on expectations. It's like, okay, you know from the first sequence that something happens to her ear. And so you're like, what the hell is going to happen to her ear? And the way that it always kind of adds an element in that you know is coming, but the way they do it, I think, keeps it really flowing well. The one element I think that of the nonlinear storytelling that I think isn't the best because it relies on making a character not act like themselves in order to sell a notion. So when you see the full picture, especially the early stuff at the motel, Kyle Gallner is a pretty like mild-mannered guy.
Yeah.
For most of the movie. Even later on when he's like talking to her in the hair, he's like very calm, mild-mannered.
Yeah.
I think having him go here kitty kitty as he's stalking around the house shooting the thing feels out of character in a way because it's meant to mislead you into thinking he's the killer.
Okay.
I don't like that bit of writing.
So I understand that.
And I know he's hopped up on drugs and you can use that as an excuse for
that wasn't going to be mine.
Okay.
So it turns out that this lady is a serial killer.
Yes.
Known as the Electric Lady.
Yes.
And it's implied, in my opinion, with the here kitty kitty, where he's searching around the house looking for her, that it's like, I've gotcha.
Yeah.
Like, as a cop, it's like, I've gotcha. And when he is searching through the house, he pinpoints her into this cooler and knocks her out. And handcuffs her to the cooler and everything, and then he calls in for backup. So this is my thing, my one rebuttal against you.
Yeah.
You're right when the surprise element is out of the picture, because after a certain point, this movie is like, it doesn't have really any more tricks to play on.
For sure.
It's just, now you're just sitting with the situation itself. There are nuances in the moments in between that are... like they add the layers to it, or they at least add the punch to the layers itself. So after the cooler, when he's called in for backup, they sort of have this one-on-one conversation, You know, maybe she really did like him early on, you know.
Yeah.
And then she winds up killing him.
Yeah.
Kyle Gallner dies in this movie.
Yeah.
And she's trying to get herself out of the cooler, but you know backup's on the way, and so when backup shows up, she pulls down her pants to make it seem like it was a rape.
Yeah.
And that's where the thematic element of this movie really kicks into high gear after the tricks are done. So I know exactly where you're going with
So I was going to get to the scene because I find the scene immensely frustrating for a few reasons. I find it frustrating because the first half of the scene is my favorite sequence of the movie.
Interesting.
I think their conversation before she kills him is fucking great.
Yeah.
There's this element where you don't know exactly what's manipulation and what's not from her.
Yeah.
Then she violently bites his throat out.
Mm-hmm.
Great bit of violence.
Right.
Very intense. She gives an amazing guttural physical performance trying to drag his corpse to the icebox I fucking love.
She's so fucking good.
She's unbelievable, especially when like those those crazy eyes come out. She's a beast. And then the fucking cops show up, and I think this scene nosedives.
Lay it on me, dude.
I think that you say it's when the thematic element turns up. I think is when it
crashes out.
It hits 11. It goes too far into this is what they're trying to say about gender dynamics.
Yeah.
And more than anything else, I just think that it's a poorly written scene with two cops that are not acting like cops. And it all is kind of, the sequence is basing itself on you're supposed to be with the male cop who's like, well, we don't know what the situation is. Which is never what you would do in that situation as a cop.
No, you would focus on getting the lady help in the first place, and then...
And it's something where it's defying logic in order to hit you with a point.
To drive it home, yeah.
And I don't like that.
I get it. There's a complaint I saw on Letterboxd, not to cut you off, buddy.
No.
Where someone said, like, this is a movie made by... It was a negative review, but this is a movie made by someone who, quote-unquote, supports the Me Too movement but thinks it's going too far.
Yeah.
I completely see that. And as someone... I mean, we talked about the brown bunny, and it's our conversation after the brown bunny, which we won't disclose, but, like, you know, that's something to be taken extremely seriously.
It was that sequence and the end of that cop sequence in the car with him calling the lady cop a dumb bitch. Where it just there's a slight bad taste from those moments.
You ever see those social media comments where a woman accuses an athlete of like sexual raping her, and then all the comments are those fucking bots, those rage bait bots being like, innocent until proven guilty. Yeah. Where's your proof? It's like, well, there typically isn't proof.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I completely get that.
Yes. It's the only thing that left me with a bad taste. The rest of the movie is I mean, great. And even after the cop sequence ends, I love the last shot of her dying in the car.
Yeah.
Fucking love that scene.
Lingers way too long, and I love it.
Love it. It's like a good version of the In a Violent Nature.
Yeah, you said that. I thought that was spot on. I thought the same thing.
There's some really good licensed music used in this. They keep using "A Love Hurts" throughout in a really thematically appropriate way.
You said you didn't dig the score though, right? You weren't a big fan.
I like the score. I don't like the moments in the score when it goes. Yeah. It uses like the Inception horn.
Yeah.
And it's like every time in the first half that like Kyle Gallner like comes out of the woods with a gun, it's like
yeah. It worked on me. I don't know.
Then like I like the ambient stuff a lot. I think it builds mood. It was just those moments where I'm reminded of whatever that foreign war movie score was from last year that won the Oscar over Babylon.
All Quiet?
Yeah, and it uses those sounds, and it's like annoying as hell.
I didn't see that movie. I bet that'd be really infuriating in a fucking war movie.
So I mentioned this in the spoiler free. Super funny movie. Fucking hilarious.
Let's talk about it, dude.
That sequence with the old couple.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that sequence where they make the most disgusting looking breakfast you've ever seen. He uses 2 sticks of butter for 2 eggs. Yeah, it's like the most disgusting DIY breakfast cooking.
I love
tutorial
that you looked over to me and said, "How too basic." I was just like, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, that old guy. Every line he said, he's like a conspiracy nut. Like he was just fucking hilarious.
Yeah, just a bunch of hippies.
After Kyle Gallner gets dosed with ketamine, him bringing himself back to life by snorting cocaine is fucking hilarious.
It's awesome. It reminded me of...
The second they framed the shot that way, and I knew they were doing, I laughed. I was like, that's fucking
Well, as someone that has done both a lot of ketamine and cocaine, I knew...
Yeah.
Because in earlier shots in the movie, they show him at the wheel of his truck, and he's just like...
Yeah.
So, when I knew that he had gotten dosed with ketamine, I was like... He's going to pull a Jordan Belfort in Wolf of Wall Street and, balance this shit out with... Which, by the way, not to be cinema-cincy, ketamine and cocaine is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, cocaine will not just sober you up. That will add to the fucking... That'll make you That's a one-way ticket to schizophrenia.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's awesome. It's fucking awesome. The coked out element in this movie is fantastic in my opinion.
And uses...
awesome.
I mean, I'm a sucker. It doesn't even have to be used in a thematically appropriate way or like in a way for me to love a split diopter, but the two split diopter shots in this, which are showing a key bit of information because it's showing her switching the ketamine, fucking incredible. Awesome, two back-to-back split diopter shots that are fucking incredible.
Yeah, man. This movie is, like, I know we said it, and made fun of the 35mm shit, but like it's fucking gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It's shot fantastically. Shot by Scientologist, friend of the show, Giovanni Ribisi.
Yep. Yep. He does a great job in his first DP effort.
Yeah. Feature DP.
Yeah. Movie's great. I mean, it's not great. It's good. I like it. I complain about the thing. Those are my main complaints with it. Just the lack of surprises at a point, and then some of the muddled politic type.
I get it.
Morality type things that they're doing. But overall, I think this movie's well worth watching.
Definitely.
It's something unique. It's something visceral.
Visceral is a great word for it.
It's cool.
I think this movie is great. This movie is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think how singular it is with its politics, I think works.
Yeah.
I think it's able to sort of carry itself without it being sort of like innocent until proven guilty-esque. Though I do understand that mindset.
100%.
That impression.
Yeah.
It's my favorite movie of the year. I love it. Up there with Challengers and Dune Part 2.
Oh, yeah. All right. Man, this episode's going to be long. All right.
Sure is.
Now we are going to get into our AI triple feature.
Yes.
So, in honor of AfrAId coming out, the new Blumhouse horror.
To make up for AfrAId.
We decided to talk about two other movies prominently featuring AI. So I picked 2001: A Space Odyssey, and you picked AI, artificial intelligence.
I sure did.
So we're going to go in chronological order. So we're going to start with my pick, 1968's 2001: A Space Odyssey, directed by Stanley Kubrick. Where the fuck? Spoilers for 2001: A Space Odyssey and AI, artificial intelligence, right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
So 2001: A Space Odyssey is a film. It's about a lot of things, but mainly it's about in space they find a monolith, which is kind of being seen as proof of other life out there.
Outer life, yeah.
And so, in a mission to kind of go see this monolith, is that what the crew is doing, Dave and the rest of them? What is their mission, exactly? They're going to research the monolith, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah.
So, the main segment of the movie functions on two characters, Dave and... Who's the other guy's name?
I forget his fucking name, dude.
It's two main guys. So unprepared.
I mean, this movie is...
Dave and Frank?
Impossible to fucking...
Frank?
Have a simple conversation about.
David and Frank Dave and Frank are the main two kind of space guys who are going with a crew of cryogenically frozen researchers to research this proof of life. And on the way, complications arise when the AI in the ship named HAL 9000 veers them off course.
God, this movie's
like trying to describe. So I'm saying
you can't have a simple conversation.
Yeah, like saying that about the plot is like as basic as you get because it's also like the origin of life and of not of life but of consciousness.
Yeah.
The moment we went from dumb monkeys to like able to comprehend things.
To create something that is trying to replicate what we are.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
I'm gonna let you take the wheel with this one, but Jesus Christ.
I first saw this movie last year, so
Yeah.
I'm still new to this. I saw it in theaters. Shout out Alamo Draft House.
God bless.
And then we
and
saw
I'm
it
so
again.
jealous of you for that, by the
So
way.
I saw it 2 different times, and this is a movie that it will take 24 watches to unpack entirely because it's so dense. But I mean, it's a film by Stanley Kubrick. I don't know if he's used his name yet. The auteur he is. And it is one of the densest... I'd say this is the strangest film to ever get as popular as it has. This is a weird fucking movie. It's slow as hell. It's long as hell.
Yeah.
It isn't concerned with being entertaining. I mean, not really.
No.
So this movie is basically told anthology style. There's 4 what I would call 4 segments.
4 chapters.
There's 4 chapters. There's chapter 1, which is a group of like Neanderthal monkeys, apes, primates, who discover this monolith is dropped upon them, and it kind of gives them knowledge and sentience and the ability to create and use tools.
But they're scared of it.
But they're scared of it.
When they try to touch it, it's hot. It's
Yeah.
something that they aren't ready for.
Yeah. Yeah. But then they're able to use like bones and stuff as tools.
Right. They're
media.
realizing one thing I really love about the famous shot in this movie where the monkey he's
breaking the bones.
He's breaking the bones. He's using aggression, and the bone flies up in the air, and it cuts to the spaceship. That
one of the famous match cuts of all time.
Of course, and it's almost. I said this to you. It's almost lame. It's almost like weird and corny and like. Ugh.
Yeah.
But it is like it's showing that this is what we can create with our aggression. That's the power of that match cut, is when you're fucking breaking this down to the point where you lose control of the bone, it cuts to this technologically advanced... And Quentin Tarantino just went on Bill Maher's podcast recently, and they talked about this movie. Yeah.
I can't fucking listen to Bill Maher. I hate him so much. It's
so funny not like watching him not let people be able to talk when it's Quentin Tarantino, the most interesting. Yeah. Quentin Tarantino brought up something really interesting where, because we are obviously focused on the technologically advanced. Yeah. But is the monolith also maybe something regarding spirituality?
Could be.
As an advancement?
That's pretty good. What I love about this prologue is just like how, you could say this about the whole movie, but this prologue is fucking gorgeous. Oh my god. Yeah. The landscape shots I don't know where they shot this prologue in, like what state or country, but it's gorgeous. With some really impressive practical monkey suits as well that look great.
In the same era of like Planet of the Apes as well.
Mm-hmm. And then chapter 2 of this movie basically functions as a bit of world building. Yeah. It's like a guy going through a kind of futuristic airport.
Yeah.
On his way to see the monolith. He's kind of like more like a CEO type. He's not like a researcher. He's more like in the...
Well, he's the CEO of the team that eventually is David Frank.
So he's going up there to make sure that everything's going smoothly.
Yeah. And then this is like, this is setting up the world of the movie. Yeah.
It kind of shows the futuristic technology. It has So many impressive things, like the fucking pen floating off of him and things that I don't know how they fucking did it. The effects were... there's one where his tray floats off of him and he grabs it and brings it back down.
There's so many things in this movie that I'm just jaw dropped.
Yeah.
How the fuck did they do that? Let's go back to the prologue.
Yeah.
How'd they get the lights, the fucking
Jaguar.
eyes on the Jaguar? How did they train a Jaguar to attack this person in a monkey outfit?
No idea.
What are the animals? What are those weird pig things that the monkeys are amongst?
Yeah.
So that from the start, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we go to chapter 2, as you say.
Yeah. They've
got the fucking, like, jet blue screens on the back of the plane seats.
Yeah.
Like we have now.
Yeah.
It's... I don't get it. I don't understand how they did it. I don't understand...
Yep.
I'm speechless every fucking time I watch this movie. Anytime I think of this movie,
Yeah.
I'm just left there with just deep in thought of just like what... Stanley Kubrick, in my opinion, is the greatest director to ever do it. I think it's
wouldn't argue that.
hilariously ironic that someone that I'm controversially not a big fan of, which is Steven Spielberg, he's the one that I chose for this, and you chose Stanley Kubrick. This is what I think is for real probably the greatest achievement in cinematic history.
1968.
1968. Bro, there's this really funny fact of the people that actually did land on the moon, one of them saying, like, oh my god, it's just like 2001.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And there's so many simple things in this movie, or like things that would be simple in a normal movie. In chapter 2, there's a sequence that's just a boardroom meeting.
Yeah.
And it's like, it'd be so easy to shoot that shot, reverse shot. It's like a simple scene. He shoots it kind of like very symmetrical, and every time someone gets up from their chair to go to the front of the room, it kind of does a little pan. And then back to center, and pan, back to center. It's such an interesting visual thing to do.
It's so particular.
It's so particular and strange.
Yeah.
Chapter 2 is definitely the least I have to say about, just because it's like vibes.
Yeah. And it's set up.
It's set
as
up.
Well.
It's great setup. It's fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 is the meat of it. It is the entire sequence with Dave and HAL 9000 basically turning against them.
Beefing. A little bit of beef.
HAL 9000 shaped exactly like the monolith. Rectangle.
Of course. But also has the center dot like the human eye.
Yes.
Brilliant.
I want to pull this up. Douglas Rain does the voice of HAL 9000. Genius bit of voice acting.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Haunting
One
when
of
it
the
needs
best.
to be.
And
comforting when it needs to be.
The actor who plays Dave is fucking fantastic.
Black Christmas Baby.
Keir Dullea? Keir? Yeah. I don't know. It's just such a immaculate movie. There's so many shots, iconic shots in this sequence alone.
Mm-hmm.
Him walking through the
station.
The hallway.
Yeah.
In that suit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So many good stuff. Once you're getting action in space, them outside trying to repair things, it fucking looks incredible. It's so intense. There's a whole sequence where he's trying to repair something outside, and the only sound you're hearing is his heartbeat.
Oh my god.
No, sorry, not his heartbeat, his breath, him breathing. That's
It's
for about 3 minutes, and it makes you stress the hell out.
Oh my god.
It's so stressful.
Also, kind of to touch on the shit that just blows my mind, the whole like low grav, it's the other famous shot where the woman is carrying the tray and she's like walking in that circle, and then she goes and she like walks into another room upside. It's unfucking this movie fucking blows my mind. It just blows my fucking mind.
Yep. And for my money, one of the creepiest sequences of all time is the sequence where HAL 9000 gets turned off.
Yeah.
It is haunting. The voice acting, his pleads for
that's what I was gonna bring up.
For help.
Yeah.
Him singing Daisy as he goes offline. Unbelievable sequence.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah.
No doubt. And then, I mean, we can go back to certain things. And then you get chapter 4.
It's just full art house.
Which is just full art house with Dave going into the beyond. And experiencing
let's say ego death in a sense of
transcending.
Essentially, and I really like the way the scene structurally works because, or at least the way it's shot, because he's essentially looking at an older version of himself
that he becomes.
Yeah. Which I think speaks to the movie entirely.
And that's after the crazy 5 to 10 minute light show.
Yeah.
Which goes it's like a light, like a rainbow fucking circle until it's like you're passing over landscapes and it's like in negative filters and I don't know, man.
It's insane.
It's insane. Yeah. It's fucking incredible. It's like jaw-dropping insanity. I still don't fully understand it, but
no, me neither. But okay, so now that we've kind of the ending I honestly kind of don't want to fully talk about, whether it's because we don't fully understand it or know how to articulate it, but also it's this movie's something to behold.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, fucking watch it.
Yeah.
I would honestly recommend watching it by yourself. I'll say that.
Yeah. But
what I'm able to pull from this movie is sleepy baby boy over there.
It's a little late.
It's fucking 10:17. Anyway,
I worked all day.
Anyway, yeah, that's true. It's from second one to the very last second of this movie.
Mm.
What this movie seems to be discussing at hand is where we started and the evolution that we were able to create through very natural humanistic, or what would become humanistic emotions: aggression, love, beauty, and it foreshadows how we abuse that to create something, to essentially, and this is my view of AI, create something that can do the sloppy work for us, and how, because of the way that we are naturally as humans,
it becomes like us.
It tries to become like us, and it uses that against us.
Yeah.
It is also ironic that, and on top of that, it's is it maybe the best thing we've ever created? The thing that's trying to recreate us and could potentially become greater than us. It is ironic that a human being made this, and it is relevant to the thing that is actually, maybe potentially killing our world today.
Yeah.
Technology. I just think it's so fucking it's 4-dimensional. This movie. This movie's working on.
It's insane.
I can't articulate it.
What do you think the reason is that HAL 9000 makes the decision to look like an error, or initially throwing them off? Because what he does later in the movie is kind of self-preservation in a way. They're going to
I think the idea that he's following the mission in itself is kind of its own conversation.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
What is quote unquote the mission? What is the future? I think that in itself is a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
His turn to that, I think, is maybe how realizing, in the way of a robot realizing it has control, is going oh no, your future's in my hands right now. Especially since they're in outer space.
Just do it because you can type deal.
They're in completely foreign territory.
Yep.
Even though maybe they've created these, they're technologically advanced to be out in space, that is still foreign land. And HAL is developed to be sort of this core of their mission and guiding them. Yep. And he developing, sort of going oh no, I'm in control with this. It's not you guys. You guys aren't in control anymore. As humans.
Right.
That's my takeaway from it.
Sure.
I don't think there is a more profound, or I don't think there's a more interesting, profound, and sort of visceral experience than this movie. Because maybe you'll be lost in thought, and maybe as you think about it more, you'll come to some answers But then it comes down to maybe watching it again, and you just go, God, fucking, like, but what does that mean? You know?
Yep. It's perfect.
It's perfect. This movie's... it's funny, too.
Yeah.
Much like all of Kubrick's films, critically divisive, if not panned, when it came out.
Yep.
And I like the fun fact you told me about that I didn't know, where people going to see it on acid.
The reason it regained like a resurgence of popularity after like a middling box office start is because people were seeing that Stargate sequence on drugs,
which is awesome.
It's fucking awesome.
Big ups to Roger Ebert.
Championing.
Aside from the Brown Bunny, he was a fan of this movie.
Listen, say what you will about Ebert, when he loved something, he fucking stuck to his guns about it. He rode for that shit.
Most definitely.
He's an excellent writer, if not controversial with his opinions. But yeah, it's perfect. There's like nothing that we can say about it that hasn't been said by someone before. No. It is one of the most influential sci-fi films ever.
It's the most.
It's the
most influential. People are still trying to recreate this movie. Christopher Nolan, who has all the access in the world, tried to recreate it in its own ways, or his own ways, and wasn't able to. I mean, Interstellar's fantastic.
I fucking love Interstellar. It's going for something different. It's
100%, but
he's inspired by it.
100%. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a 5. What do you want from me?
Come on, dude.
It's a 5.
It's perfect. 5 out of 5.
Are you kidding me?
I think it is legitimately, objectively the greatest achievement in cinema.
Yeah, I mean, it's up there, dude. It's fucking up there.
There's nothing else we can say.
No. So let's move on to a movie, another movie with a lot to say. Take it away, 2001?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Which is, I didn't even put that together. That's ironic. Steven Spielberg, artificial intelligence, AI. Haley Joel Osment is a model of a robot made specifically for these two parents who are grieving the potential loss of their son after an injury.
Yep.
And at first the mother is skeptical, the father is enthusiastic, both in the technological creation and sort of revolution that this thing might cause, but also, you know, what they may be able to make up for in their potentially lost son.
Yep.
Over time, the son becomes a little too real, but also a little too dependent on the mother, and the father gains a disdain for this son, and the mother becomes a little too attached. So, as sort of some fucked up compromise, they have to ditch the son into the woods, right outside of the factory that he was built in. And Jude Law, who is also a robot,
sex bot,
a
pleasure
prostobot, as I said, who lives in the world of AI, but also where AI are hunted for pleasure from humans. You know, in his sort of attempt to escape a dangerous situation, he finds Haley Joel Osment, and you have what is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful, strange, confusing, in the same way of 2001 films about life, love, what it means to be real, what is complicated about being real.
Yeah.
I fucking adore this movie. And you know what? I will go on a whim and say I did a little bit of a weird job describing that movie.
It's a weird movie.
It's strange, buddy.
It's strange, and every act feels like a different movie, kind of.
It is.
Like tonally.
Every scene is its own movie, in my opinion.
Well, like tonally, it's pretty consistent for like the first 45, and then the second Jude Law show, it like pivots into something else entirely.
Speaking of Stanley Kubrick, let's talk about that, right?
Yes, so this movie was conceived, the idea of it was conceived by Kubrick in the early 90s, I believe.
Yep.
And sometime during his kind of conceiving the idea, making all the storyboards, he was like, this is more Spielberg's sensibilities than mine.
Yeah.
I want you to direct it.
I want you to do this.
And Kubrick ended up passing away, and Spielberg made it.
Mm-hmm.
He took Kubrick's ideas, which were mainly all like the family drama in the first and third acts of the movie, and kind of implemented it into his kind of crazy, strange framework.
Yeah. Into like a family film, but in Spielberg's way.
Yes.
Stanley Kubrick wrote the first and third act of this movie, or the first and third parts of this movie.
Yeah.
But, in the middle with Jude Law, that was completely his original idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Spielberg. And you can feel it.
I'd never seen this movie before.
Mm-hmm.
This is very much one of his most divisive movies.
Yeah. IndieWire listed it as the greatest movie of the 2000s.
Yes, they did. Just recently.
Give it to me.
It's a good movie. I think that it takes insanely big swings, which I will always appreciate. It has some of Spielberg's most cognizant ideas, some of his craziest and best visuals.
Yeah.
Purely from a cinematography point of view.
Definitely.
Haley Joel Osment is one of the best performances in a Spielberg movie. Jude Law is one of the best performances in a Spielberg movie.
Easily Jude Law's best performance, I'm sorry.
It's up there. It's
It's that and Talented Mr. Ripley for me.
Yeah. All of that stuff worked. I think it's a very soulful movie. It feels itself. You can tell it's feeling itself in a great way.
Yeah.
Movie felt like 3 hours long to me. It's 2.5. It's a long movie.
Yeah.
And it feels its length to me. By the last 30 minutes, I'm more or less waiting for it to end. And I do think the eventual destination is worth it.
Yeah.
I love the last sequence in this movie, and I think it's powerful and sad beyond the CGI aliens that I hate. I think the actual ideas, the conception, the journey that this main character goes on is so great.
Yeah.
It's long, it's tonally inconsistent and strange in a way that, like, I was on board sometimes. Sometimes it would lose me a little bit and then bring me back again. Overall, I respect the hell out of this movie, even when I don't love it.
Yeah.
I think that it was having it took a second to hook me in that first act, because I do find it a little schmaltzy sometimes in the way that Spielberg can get with his movies.
That's a Spielbergism.
It's a Spielberg. It fits sometimes in this movie. At other times, it likes to spell out its themes to you. I am a real boy. I am not a robot. That kind of stuff.
It's a Pinocchio fantasy.
Which, yes, it is a fable. It is a storybook. I think, again, I love the Jude Law section simply because his performance is so fucking good. And that's when the movie gets so fucking weird with that, like, robot, what the hell is it called? Whatever, like, that, like, circus, it's a scrap circus, whatever the hell that is called. Where they're, like, a bunch of robots that they capture, they, like, kill for sport in this arena. Fucking insane sequence.
Yeah, man.
And there's so many cool visuals. I love the sequence after that when they end up at, like, it's like a fortune teller. And you have to ask them very deliberate questions or they'll screw you over because you, like, pay for questions. Yeah. But it's like, if you don't word it properly, it'll give you the wrong answer. So that sequence really worked for me.
I was about to say, that sentence in itself, the way that you described that, is like, I think that's just interesting.
Yeah.
In itself, looking for the answers, and you're not, you have to say it in a certain way to get what you want, because there's so much.
Yeah, there's just so much to this movie. It's dense as hell.
Oh, man.
And yes, you could compare it to 2001 in the way that it's about creation and cycles in terms of what we kind of create.
Yeah.
And then
patterns.
Reject.
Yeah.
I think that it's an ambitious movie to a fault, but I would never hate on that because I love ambition. I love seeing a director fucking reach for the stars like Spielberg does here.
Reach for the stars, maybe hit the sun.
Yeah.
On the way.
He, again, once you introduce the aliens at the end, it loses me. I don't like.
I get it.
I don't like it much.
Is it a visual effects thing or?
It's a visual design thing. I don't like the way they look, and I don't like that it has a British accent.
yeah. That is maybe the worst part of this movie. That foreign life is just gonna sound like a Brit.
I just don't understand the choice there. I wish we had not understood them at all. If an alien's going to talk, I'd rather it be subtitled.
I think it definitely would have been more interesting if there was zero dialogue and all physicality from them.
I would have preferred.
Completely understand that.
Yes.
I will say, as much as I hate that race of people, British people do have very like commanding sort of
narrator voices.
Yeah, definitely.
And that voice, I know it's someone. Well, there's a few famous voices in this. I know that Robin Williams is like the Dr. No.
Yeah.
In that sequence, I think it's Ben Kingsley.
No way.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
For sure. I don't like. I feel like I'm not saying much of anything here, but I it's a lot to take in. 2001
is interesting because that was also my second watch of that movie. 2001. That's one that I have promised myself to only watch every few years. I saw that that was during COVID. This movie with 2001, I was able to articulate things about it that I was able to take away from, even in the moments that I didn't understand. Yeah. This movie is different. I cannot. I mean, it's so strange in the way that it moves. You know, the way we go from scene to scene, especially towards like the second half of this movie. I don't want to say is like almost belligerent, but it's. Well, if you want to compare and contrast 2001 is driven completely by cerebral nature, where this is entirely emotionality. Yes, and I think it fucking nails it. I almost teared up once watching this. Multiple times at the sequence where he's left behind by his mom for the first time. Oh, that was and he says, "I'll be so real for you." Oh, man. That's a brutal line, man. And again, Haley Joel Osment is one of the best child actors to ever grace the earth. Unbelievable, man. I would honestly say, for my money, this is probably Haley Joel Osment's best performance. I wouldn't scoff at that. And also probably Steven Spielberg, because he's really good at directing child actors. Yeah. He has like kind of a 100%. It's probably my favorite of his child actors as well. I mean, if you just look at the sequence where he first gains that love for his mother when she imprints on him. It's all the eyes. It's all the eyes, and you from see a robot. That. And he maintains that as well. He's like Jude Law's really great in his physicality because he's got more of like a silly spirit to him. Yeah. But he's still a robot. Yeah. And he moves like a robot. Whereas Haley Joel Osment is someone that's trying to love. He was built to love. Mm-hmm. And in a different way, obviously, but similar to Hal, where it's like he's been built to try and recreate something that only humans can accomplish. I don't think we've gotten the point across that this movie is fucking depressing. Yeah, man. Like you mentioned, and you get to that ending, which is beautiful, and as happy as you're gonna get, it's a bittersweet ending. That's where I was tearing up the most. Yeah, and I get that. It's this boy, this robot who wants to be a boy, who's rejected by his mother, and spends the rest of his life looking for her, and that is heartbreaking. It's fucking insane, man. And he gets his happiness in the end, but for one day, for one moment, really. Yeah, which is all he needed. But I mean, I just think it's one of the most beautiful. It's gorgeous. That ending, and also first of all, MVP of this movie, the bear. What the hell's the bear's name? Teddy. Teddy rules. Great visual effects on him too. Definitely, he's sort of Haley Joel Osment's.
He's like he is another he's another form of AI. He's like a stuffed animal that like walks around and interacts and stuff. And
he's sort of the guiding force for Haley Joel Osment.
If we're talking about the fairy tale connection, he's his Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. He's like the conscious or the conscience.
I just love this movie. I love it, and I completely understand. I felt it when we were watching it. I completely understand sort of it's very foreign for Steven Spielberg.
It like at once it feels very Spielberg and not at all.
Not at all.
And it's strange. Again, it's his most ambitious movie.
It's another one I'm at a loss with more, and I emphasized like it. I'm more at a loss with this movie than I am with 2001. I think it's his most ambitious. It's his most heartfelt. It is carrying the legacy of someone that Steven Spielberg very clearly admired to death.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine, it's one thing to be friends with Stanley Kubrick because of maybe what you've accomplished in the past, with Jaws and E.T. and Jurassic Park. But, like, for him to hand you something, that's one thing. Then to go and execute it after he's passed away, it's just like and you can feel it, man. It's a completely different language for Steven Spielberg. It's far and away my favorite movie of his. I think it's his best movie, and it's I'm I can't say anything. I'm at a loss for words with it.
He's an interesting director because I like him a lot more than you, clearly.
Yeah.
I think that, he excels and he's known for being like the blockbuster guy because obviously he invented the blockbuster in a way with Jaws.
Definitely.
But when he lets the emotion speak, man, he's
there.
Unbeatable.
He can do it.
I mean, we just saw it the other year with the Fabelmans.
Which
is just
which I loved.
Which I love. I actually think that his two most recent movies have been both some of his best. Between that and West Side Story.
West Side Story, yeah, you're a big fan
I think he's having a hell of a career, like back end.
I mean, the guy, the thing I've always given him credit for is the guy knows how to like make a movie down to a science.
For sure.
And I think I've even heard from other actors that like they think he could do every single like at its basics, cinematography, sound.
Yeah.
Lighting. Like, he could do all that himself. Like, he just has an understanding of
100%.
The medium that I can't take away from.
Yeah.
It is when it comes to substance and feels that sometimes I can get just kind of like schmaltzy. Schmaltzy's a really good way to put it, especially when you're handling a World War II
we're not going to get
Nazi.
That. We're not getting into Schindler's List.
As a Jewish man, anyway.
Yeah.
This movie just... It's the ambition, it's the feels, it's the language of it. Yeah. It's non-formalist. It doesn't really have any concern with like fully making sense to you. And I just fucking love this movie so much.
Nothing wrong with that. I would give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. 5, easy.
Yeah.
Also, probably. I mean, like a lot of movies.
Have you given all 4 movies we've talked about a 5? Yeah, you have.
Wow. Yeah, I have. I've had a good week.
This is like all your favorite movies.
For real.
Right?
It really is.
Yeah.
And then, we watched a movie that maybe broke the streak a little bit.
Blumhouse. They're having a hell of a year. This is their 3rd movie, and all the previous 2, they started with Night Swim, dog shit. Imaginary, which was my worst movie of the year. It is complete, unmitigated bullshit. It's like, what if a Neanderthal attempted to make a Nightmare on Elm Street? Yeah. And then we get AfrAId. I don't know. I think they just want it called Afraid. I'm calling it AfrAId.
Fuck that up with the trailer.
AfrAId.
Whoops.
Which is about John Cho. Is like I don't even know what fucking company he works at. He's a guy, and he's approached by like business partners that are like, "Hey, try out this."
Our investors want you to
try out this like AI smart assistant in your home, named Aya, And from there the AI is maybe up to something nefarious.
Take it away, Kyle, dude. You love this movie.
It's dog shit.
Ooh, I see the peaks and the sound.
It's dog shit.
Ooh. No, this movie fucking sucks.
So we're not doing spoiler free.
No,
This movie
gives a shit.
What can you even fucking spoil about this movie?
They give it away in the trailer, and then they do nothing with it.
So, essentially, this is a thriller with no thrills.
Yeah, they marketed it as a horror, and then you realize pretty quickly, oh no, it's not.
And I'll tell you, so this is my worst movie of the year.
Except for the jump scares.
This is my worst movie
of the year, huh?
And this is the first half star I've given in a couple of years.
Yeah. And you gave Imaginary a 1.
I did.
You're a man of many merits. You can see the good in movies.
I really try. And
to an insufferable point, I'll say, by the way.
Did you say insufferable?
Insufferable. It can be insufferable watching a movie we all clearly fucking hated, and then you go, well, it's 2.5. Obviously, I say that sort of satirically.
Yeah.
But
I try to find the good things.
It speaks to the testament that this movie fucking sucks.
And what I'll say in comparison to the previous 2 Blumhouse movies of the year and why I find this worse. Yes, those are garbage, bottom of the barrel, jump scare horror movies. At the fucking very least, they give you what you went there for, which is cheap jump scares, PG-13 horror, whatever.
Yeah.
It gives you that. This doesn't even do that much.
Well, it gives you jump scares, which
some of the
work.
dumb, and there's 4 of them, which is weird because it's not a horror movie. It takes forever for anything to fucking happen in this movie, and then it's like. And we're over.
Oh, bummer.
Dude.
Here's okay.
Yeah.
Let me get this out of the way. In the most fucking one-dimensional fucking approach they could, when they install this AI into the house, it's John Cho. He's a family man, dude. He's got a wife, and they don't get time together, and he's got a teenage daughter who's up to some teenage daughter activities,
and 2 shithead boys,
and 2 sons who probably are mentally disabled in some way.
I think the screenwriter's mentally disabled.
If the screenwriter is human, which I'll get to.
Oh,
but they do a job of making it a point to show how maybe AI can help the household around, and then the movie turns into what it is.
So yeah, because this movie is paced so poorly, the first 50 minutes, the AI hardly does anything wrong.
Oh my god, it really is the first hour of this movie.
And again, this movie is only 80 minutes long, so they have
minutes.
To breeze through the third act. The third act of this movie is probably 12 minutes long.
Oh man.
And
I didn't put that in perspective.
Yeah. Again, it's the most plainly shot fucking movie possible, plainly lit movie possible. The dialogue is atrociously bad and very laughable at a lot of points.
It's written by AI.
A movie that is showing the dangers of AI, using a ton of AI artwork, generative AI artwork.
Artwork is a stretch.
Yeah. Artwork.
It's just dolly generation.
And I groaned so hard when the first shot of the movie is generative AI.
It's the opening credits.
Which
is so funny to me because okay, on one hand, you could use that as look at what AI actually amounts to, which to be honest with you, it's using 2-year-old models of AI. Back when it was first coming up with the Dolly generator.
Yeah.
And it was everyone was clowning it because this is what you come up with.
Right.
On Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember.
So it's on one hand, it can be used for the perspective of this doesn't look good, right? Right? This isn't actually good. But then the movie itself does make a point to go hey, look what it can do for us.
Because this movie has such a mixed thing. Where there's some things in the movie where there's AI artwork hanging on his boss's wall, and he looks at it and is okay, AI artwork, not good. But then the movie is using generative AI artwork, which is the issue with the artwork is that it's stolen, and that's the reason, the moral implication. So it's like you guys are just using stolen assets in your movie.
It's the most basic approach at going because it's not. It doesn't make a point, at least in the opening credits, to go like, well, this is stealing from something. It is. The prompt was girl walking down sidewalk, and it morphs into something crazier.
Yeah, sure.
It's not necessarily saying like this is stolen from anything.
No, I know that.
But the common theme in literally every AI movie we've talked about is the fact that AI goes out of its way, or its algorithm is to recreate from humans. Mm-hmm. So what the fuck is the point of using the shitty models that they are in a movie where it's supposed to be this really advanced model that can achieve, something positive for humans? It's confused. You're right. It's completely confused, and it's...
This movie takes good actors and makes them bad.
Everyone sucks in this movie. There's not a good performance.
Because what are you supposed to do with this dialogue? John Cho is a great actor.
Yeah.
I love John Cho.
I haven't seen anything from him that's like really where
he really carried
was it Searching?
Yeah. He's good in the Star Trek movies. Like, he's a really likable actor.
Likable, I would say, yeah.
Catherine Waterston was great in Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
She's been around. She's good. One of the best character actors around right now, David Dastmalchian.
What the fuck are you doing here, man?
Is god awful in this movie, dude. And has some truly offensive dialogue.
Yeah, this movie's really got this weird concern for like
woke.
Yeah, speaking on woke and like modern.
And by the way, when I'm saying woke, I'm not like the conservative YouTube woke now. I'm talking like literally they're using talking points like gender and incels.
Homelessness. There's that one weird line where the boss goes
is that a term woke for homeless?
Like, what the fuck?
Because and the problem is they're literally using them I guess for brownie point. I don't know what they're trying to do, because it's not even for brownie points. It's like they're just bringing them up and not like they're just bringing them up.
No, there's no point that they have for bringing them up.
And then we got to get to the third act of this movie, which is basically incomprehensible.
It's schizophrenic, dude. And I don't mean that in the way that I said about The Crow, where it's like where it's like messy.
Yeah.
It's in the way a schizophrenic's mind will work is like going from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Thought 1 to thought 2. And you wonder, how the fuck did you go from this to that?
And you know what? I actually want to double down on my rating for The Crow, because movies like this come out.
Yeah.
And I don't regret giving that a 2 out of 5.
This makes it look like Citizen Kane.
Because I had fun with that movie, and I had no fun with... I mean, I had fun laughing at AfrAId a couple times, but it's... the last act of this movie is like there's people in fucking emoji masks walking around, and they're the stupidest looking masks I've ever seen in my life.
Well, we're not doing spoiler free, so I guess we should
spoil
make it
whatever.
I think we should make it a thing to explain. Okay, so the movie opens up with this family. This woman, I guess.
And like the AI lures the daughter
away into the kitchen, and there's the first jump scare.
There's a jump scare and then the title card.
Right. So the ending.
That family has been... So there was... Earlier in the movie, there was like a camper parked outside their house with people in masks doing weird stuff, and then it left. That they come back, and it's the family... It's the parents from the first house who are trying to find their missing daughter, and the AI has kind of tricked them into thinking that this family kidnapped their daughter.
I guess.
It's not set up. It's something that is like, hey, it's here, and then it's resolved 4 minutes later.
It's so funny too, because there's a scene where they show the actual because there's always a person lurking outside of the RV, so it's always like, Mom, look, there's someone outside the RV, and then they kind of do a perspective shot where you're behind this person, and they have this weird no head, kind of thing, and it's just the screen. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But I guess it turns out to be one of the family members? I
guess so.
Who have fully fleshed out heads and are just wearing masks.
And
it's schizophrenic, buddy. It's completely nonsensical. It's AI written. I think this script is AI written.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And
man.
it's so funny because that would kind of, in a sort of like HAL 9000 way, when you look at the perspective it has on AI, it's so conflicted because you probably put in the prompt, write me a feature film script about, whatever this movie's about.
Yeah.
And, maybe you made a point to go, like, but make it condemn AI. Yeah. And then AI itself is going like, no, but wait. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's the most, like, in the way that AI writes scripts, it's the most nonsensical point A to point B to point C, like, kind of transition.
It can't make up its fucking mind about anything. Yeah, that last act is just so incomprehensibly rushed and then just ends. And it like I said earlier with At Least Imaginary and Night Swim have this, it's like they don't even have any fanfare. One person dies in this movie. Uno. It's the boyfriend that's car crashes.
Oh, yeah.
One kill in this Blumhouse thriller that you're selling as a horror movie, and you can't even offer any creative kills or anything of the sort.
There aren't really even stakes either. You brought up how it takes an hour for the AI to actually turn bad.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so random.
Oh my god,
you can't pinpoint why.
That fucking scene where John Cho goes back to the office and those guys are like, we're working for Aya. And then he shoots and then she shoots David Dastmalchian. And
so I guess 2 people die in this movie?
Oh, I forgot he gets shot. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's like, from that point to the end of the movie, it's completely incomprehensible.
Yeah, it's nonsense. This movie fucking sucks.
It sucks so hard, dude. I'm someone that looks for the positive in something. By the end of this movie, I was like, this is completely worthless. This is worthless.
It's empty.
Blumhouse is having one of the worst years I've ever seen from a major studio. It's impressively shitty year. They gotta fix this shit, man. It's not working.
Woof.
Half star.
I didn't rate this movie. I don't.
No.
It's the same thing as The Crow. It's like, this is actually probably like a brainless movie because it was made by AI. I think. Yeah. Written by AI. No, it's awful.
Yeah, keep AI out of art. This is the reason.
Seriously, yeah. Even if you think it's contributing to like your perspective.
Well, I'm actually showing that no.
It doesn't work, man.
Yeah, so that's our AI episode.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of fucking movies.
We did.
Movied out.
Yeah, did we fucking... I got a little chimped out in the beginning, but I found my groove.
Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, we're chilling.
So that's the episode. Thank you guys for watching. Next week, we are going to be talking about the new release, Beetlejuice. So we're going to also be talking about the original Beetlejuice. Whole lot of Beetlejuice. I've never seen Beetlejuice, so...
Maybe I'll show Jordan fucking the Brown Bunny just so we have something interesting to talk about.
He's not a Tim Burton fan. I like some of Tim Burton.
I dislike Tim Burton.
I like some of Tim Burton stuff. If you like the podcast, you can follow it on Twitter at Cinema Shakedown and Instagram at Cinema Shakedown Pod. And you can follow me personally on Twitter and Letterboxd at Kyle Craigbaum. That's KRIEGHBAUM.
You can follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Slope God.
Hell yeah.
Love you.
See you next week.